The day after, Alexander Isak put his transfer request in to Newcastle, politely put that transfer request in to Newcastle to say, I would like to leave, most likely to Liverpool. The day after, because I have been silently, systematically sitting here waiting for Simmons and Hatto, here we goes, whilst this nonsense is happening in the northeast of England. And I'm quite concerned, to be honest. I'm quite shiver me timbers. And some people will do the hopium and copium and pretend like this doesn't affect them. But it was so interesting to see the meltdown, breakdown, people twerking, breaking their backs for Alexander Isak on the timeline. As soon as that transfer request got put in, as soon as that news broke, wowee, suddenly everybody was ready to rip up their plans. Jokingly, unknowingly, they were ready to rip up their whole transfer strategies and try and put together GoFundMes and all sorts for 130 million plus packages for Alexander Isak. And look, at the end of the day, it's Uno reverse card situation. We've experienced this at Chelsea and now it's happening at Liverpool. This player is not going anywhere other than Liverpool. Let me make that abundantly, emphatically, bombastically clear to every single one of you who thought you had a chance. I was not even for a second considering that we would be able to hijack this move. And none of you that support any other club should be thinking that way either. Because at the end of the day, when we had Caicedo personal terms and groundwork and back behind the scenes chat done, Liverpool couldn't step in and hijack. When we had conversations, back chat, groundwork done with Lavia, Liverpool tried to step in, it was too late. Now, in this instance, yes, we have had our fair fun with Tottenham and we've been able to take players from their medical rooms and run. But this is not the case here. Alexander Isak, no matter what you feel, and I know Newcastle fans will be absolutely fuming because they're having an absolutely horrendous transfer window, and we're going to get onto them in a minute. He seems still to me a very respectful guy. His agent, however, maybe not so respectful, maybe not so kind, maybe more ruthless, maybe more, decisive, because he knows that this move for Isak really should happen. But Liverpool have done the groundwork. Liverpool have done the back chat behind the scenes, and they will get this player done. And there isn't a thing anyone can do about it. When someone's put in a transfer request like that, they haven't put a transfer request in for every club, cat, mum, dog, auntie to come in. Scunthorpe United, Kidderminster. It's not every club can now come in and chat. The transfer request has been put in because Liverpool are interested, have made that abundantly clear for quite some time. And the player and the agent have now decided they would like to move to Liverpool. Not to everyone, not to anyone, to Liverpool. And you know what, yeah, let me just really emphasize on this point. We can't be hypocrites as fans. It's not just my fan base, Chelsea fans. We're talking about all fans, Arsenal, like whoever wanted Isak after seeing that report. Because you maybe didn't think he'd be available before that report. We ask for our clubs all the time to be proactive, to get their business done early before pre-seasons and spend their budgets. And everybody's got different budgets. We haven't all spent like Liverpool in the last few years where we've got now a lot of money in the money jar. And like I said, hopefully Newcastle milk those udders for everything they've got. We have all got different budgets. We've all got different FFP, PSR, compliance, all that, UEFA, all that stuff. Because we've all spent different money at different points, but we're all spending. So when your club have already signed João Pedro and you are happy, when your club have already signed Gyökeres and you're happy, when your club have already signed players and are still probably signing players, their own targets, their own moves, let's not be childish. Let's not be unreasonable with our directors and boards. We cannot expect, because breaking news has come out, that our clubs are going to be able to manifest 130 million British transfer record minimum upwards on a player that they've not even spoken to for months, not done any groundwork for, not put framework in place to make the deal happen. We haven't even got into the wages yet. Especially when most of our clubs are looking at multiple positions. Arsenal, 2 players. Chelsea, 2 more players. So I'm just going to put that out there because this is how business works. This is business. This is not, it's not FIFA. It's not EAFC career mode where you can just pluck out players randomly and start, typing in certain codes and next thing your budget just gets inflated. It's not how this works. Because if you did have the money for Isak right now, or you did have the space in your squad because you didn't just sign a new striker, you wouldn't be happy 3-4 days ago because you'd be, where's my striker? Where's my striker? So I guess this is the pros and cons of doing your business early or waiting to see how the window reveals itself. Which one do you prefer? I don't know. But that's the truth, lads. And look, how does it even make sense? Well, once it gets announced, we'll chat about it. But make no mistake, this is a guy that scored back-to-back 20 Premier League plus goal seasons. He's going to make a massive difference to that front line. Remember last season we were talking about Salah, 70% plus conversion, not conversion, but 70% plus kind of reliance on his goal output whilst the other forwards are fluffing and, fumbling their chances constantly, whether it's Núñez, Diaz, etc. Players are not putting away the opportunities, and Salah's basically carrying that attack from a chance creation standpoint statistically and a goal scoring standpoint statistically. Yeah, that's over. That's done because Alexander Isak is going to score goals. Alexander Isak, there isn't this Gyökeres kind of like question mark that we would like to put up. And no, Isak's going to score. Isak's going to shoot from range and he's going to nestle the corners and he's going to put it in the top corner and he's going to be doing all that. But this time it's not going to be to Van Dijk. It's going to be to, arts and crafts and all sorts of defenders. It's going to be peak. For me, if I'm to be completely clear and concise here, I do believe that this signing, once it does get over the line, pretty much gives Liverpool back-to-back Prems. I'd be absolutely shocked, astounded if they weren't to win the Premier League with Isak, plus Ekitike, plus Florian Wirtz, plus Salah. Now, the reason why I didn't go crazy for Chelsea to get involved is because, one, that's just not how you do business. We have Simmons, we have Hato, personal terms basically agreed, deals to be done, completed. People want other positions lined up. You kind of just have to focus on what you're doing and stick to it. And like I said, he was going to Liverpool anyway. But also, if there is a bit of saving grace here, is that games aren't won on paper. Isak bleeds. And if a man bleeds, he can be beaten. He is not superhuman. He has had some injury concerns, although I do believe that those are behind him. He isn't Messi. He isn't Ronaldo. He isn't Neymar. He isn't Lewandowski. He isn't Suarez. He isn't Kane. He just isn't. But he is a top striker, especially in this market, especially in this day and age. He is world class, in my opinion, or he will be if you don't think he is already. Once he steps foot in that Champions League on a consecutive, consistent basis with Liverpool, he will be. But he can be beat. These guys can and have to hopefully be beat. They're favourites, strong favourites, and I'm not going to be predicting anyone else above them in the league as it stands with what they're doing. And I'm sure Liverpool fans will take great pleasure in me saying that. But at the end of the day, you play them twice a season and you have to do your business against the teams in the lower half of the league. What this has done, though, for the Premier League and what this has done for Newcastle United is make it very clear that there is a very big gap, a massive gap between the top four teams and everybody else. Because the fact that Newcastle could qualify for the Champions League, think that they've lined up their baby Isak, Ekitike replacement, stylistically, attributes-wise, very similar, and he goes to Liverpool, and then Isak's agent waits for that to all happen. So Liverpool move on Ekitike as an insurance policy, and then he goes and does that for Isak to now want to move to Liverpool as well. And now, yes, Newcastle are chasing Sesko, and they've just lost out on Trafford to Manchester City, and they're chasing Wissa. And by the way, Sesko, Wissa, whether it's Jackson, whoever, these will all be very much steady, solid, very good signings for Newcastle in terms of where they are, their issues that they've had in the past with PSR, obviously having to generate more revenue. Maybe they're going to look to expand the stadium, try to build themselves up slowly, even though all that Saudi money is there. It just goes to show as well, I think the geographical location of Newcastle is a hamper for them, because you shouldn't be losing out really to Man United for Mbeumo when you're in the Champions League and they're completely, in abyss. You shouldn't really be maybe losing out on all of these guys that you're losing out on, but you are. And I don't think it's even money at this point. I just think it's just people want to live in London or people want to live in Manchester. If Newcastle was in London, I think half of these deals go down. I really do. I think half of these deals go through. It's peak and it's tough. It's rough, but this will have them yo-yoing and bouncing back and forth with Champions League football one season, then out of it the next. And yeah, look at Liverpool. Just what are they doing? Where is this all leading to? It's not the fact that it's just next season. It's every season. He's going to be there for 4 or 5 years. And for me, maybe if Barcelona were in a better financial position to actually register human beings, they would get involved in the mix. If Real Madrid had the actual space for him up front, maybe you could argue that they do, but they've still got Rodrigo to shift and others, then maybe they'd get in the mix as well. But it really is all roads lead to Liverpool with this player. And you have to say it's smart recruitment. It's very, very damn good recruitment. People will accuse me of a love affair with Liverpool. It doesn't exist. Hate them just as much as anyone in terms of losing those finals back to back. But I have to be objective. I have to be very honest. If my club was making these signings, we would all be doing absolute madness and mayhem. Very disingenuous to suggest otherwise. Very disingenuous to say that we wouldn't. It's facts. This has been an incredible window. It's been a spectacular window. And it doesn't seem like it's going to end. Because after they get Isak, if they sell Diaz and they sell Nunez, and we at Chelsea, how many times we say we're a great selling club, we move all these players on, look at the money coming in. Liverpool are going to say exactly the same thing. When these guys are sold, maybe Elliott is sold, they've already sold Kwanzaa, whoever else, they're going to be looking at the books and saying, look how we balanced it. Look how we only spent a net spend of maybe 170, and look at the players that we've brought in, or 150. It's peak. It is peak. And they're going to be at the top end of the Premier League for many years to come. And it's up to everybody else to reach that, that kind of level. That's the barometer that you've got to hit. It's not anyone else. And it just goes to show, finally, that no matter what project or process you think you're in, I'm not even talking about Chelsea, I'm talking about second again, ole ole, you can't prepare and plan for anyone's downfall or anyone else's decline. Everybody thought Man City were going to, drop off and Pep would leave, and then that would open the gateways and the doors to heaven for Arsenal. And now Liverpool have just come in with Edwards and Hughes again and just started wreaking absolute mayhem on the transfer window. And now suddenly they're the top dog. And all of that kind of build and hope and pray and foresight and future. Now it's looking a bit bleak. unless they go and get a Rodrigo and an Eze. Obviously Chelsea are going to get the 2 double Dutch brothers and we'll see what else we do. But unless you respond to what is around you, which is what I said on my Delap video, our signings are only as good as our competitors. And when Isak goes to Liverpool, how does that look? And I saw people making jokes, CB saying, hey, send Delap to Strasbourg. So, pull out of this deal. Send Jackson in the car to Newcastle. See, the transfer business you conduct is only as good as your competitors. And when big names move elsewhere, it makes earthquakes and it shakes. So this is what I said. And look, I'm not annoyed. I'm not shocked. I'm not bothered. We were never in for him. We were never going to get him, in my opinion. And that is that. You have to make peace with it and sleep. But yeah, it does make them very clear title favourites for me. And then the chasing pack is the chasing pack. But that top 4 to the rest, it's looking long, fam. So yeah, Isak, I'm not going to wish you any well, in terms of the move. I don't want you to do well, but you will. So it is what it is. Guys, make sure you let me know in the comments down below. What do you make of this? And yeah, peak. Not good. Long days.